Well, good morning. This is, I want to share a word with you about chapter one in Socio's um, textbook concerning, and this is the only time this semester will be concerned with Eastern philosophy, which is greatly different than Western philosophy. Now, let me first define what Eastern philosophy is. If you sort of draw a line right down from the North Pole through Palestine, all the way down to the South Pole, east of the Mediterranean Sea, a little bit more east than that, in fact, because there's a division. This would be Far East, so it would be basically China and India and their surrounding area. Because that's basically where Eastern philosophy originated, in India, the Nepal region, and China. And I think that Soccio is going to talk about three philosophic perspectives in his chapter. One of them would be Buddhism, and then Taoism and Confucianism, I believe, are the three that he deals with. There are more than that. Several more. There's a particular way that Jains look at the world, have their worldview. And then Buddhism itself has 5 different branches: Mahayana, Theravada, Zen, well, 2 more. Anyway, there are 5 branches of Buddhism that each fluctuate just a little bit on their worldview. And then India, basically the Indian worldview is basically a Hindu worldview, or a worldview that comes from Hinduism. Well, I'm getting further into this than I want to. Now, a Far Eastern worldview would be Confucianism and Taoism. Both of them are very old. Both of them originate and come out of indigenous backgrounds. And both of them hope to speak to some problems in China in the day that they were that they came into being and flourished. Taoism, in my mind, probably the oldest, but that's debatable. But Taoism basically is this: that all of creation, and in Taoism, all of creation is called the 10,000 things, or the 10,000 sticks. That all of creation has been brought into being, has been created, and a continual creative process of the Tao. The Tao means the way, but it's more than the way. It's that force that is behind the existence of all things and the sustenance of all things as they move forward across time. The Tao is usually compared to a river that flows along and takes everything with it. If a stick falls in the river, it goes right along. And the problem in Taoism then for human beings is when you strive against the Tao, you try to put your own will, you involve your own will above that of the Tao. You can't do it. You'll go on. It's like trying to swim upstream in a fast flowing river. Eventually you'll tire, you'll go under, and you'll drown. Now, there's basically not very much of a clear view at all of a life after I would just say a life after death. Basically, owing to its animistic roots and its indigenous roots, there is some idea of another realm of reality that is populated by spirits, but it's really nebulous. It's not very clear, and never was really focused on, I don't think, in Taoism. Now, Taoism today is different from Taoism, classical Taoism. Taoism today has there are Taoist priests. There are basically magic rites, basically. to get things done. It's almost, to simplify things greatly, like carrying a rabbit's foot or whatever, that there are incantations, there are certain things that are done certain ways by priests that know how to do them that can change things. That this is a rather late occurrence in the history of Taoism. Confucianism is what Confucius, Kung Fu Tzu was his name, and he was a mid-level government clerk type person, and he lived in a day when there was utter chaos in China, wars, feudalism, violence, and he felt that the corrective to this, the way to correct all this, was not to appeal to a god or to some other sacred being or a being at all. Just the way to fix this was in basically in family relationships. And so Confucius put forth what he called the 5 basic relationships. That'd be husband, wife, and father, elder son, younger son, better and lesser, and elder and younger. And those 5 basic relationships governed, if you got them right, if those were correct, then everything else would fall into place. China would cease to be the chaotic place that it was. And for instance, these are very strict. There was another. We had at one time a couple of professors from China who spent a semester or 2 at the college, and I spoke with them. And there's actually a 6th basic relationship, and that is friend to friend. But Confucius felt that these basic relationships were, if you get them straightened out, the world is going to be straightened out. Both of these viewed the world as a real place. None of this 2-level things, none of this illusion that you're going to find in Hinduism, and that everything that has anything to do with anything is done in this world in your lifetime, and you really can't look beyond that. That's just about all you get. Now, Hinduism Hinduism and Buddhism come out of India and Nepal, and they're a bit different. The major focus for them in working out the problems of humanity is not to get 5 basic relationships right. It's not to put yourself in line with the Tao. It's to escape. Because for Hinduism and Buddhism, all this that you see, that you live in, that you get up to every morning, is an illusion. You're being fooled. The Buddha said, even you're being fooled that there's a you. There's not. There's what he called 5 aggregates, 5 things added together that make up an impression of you, but there's really no you. And Hinduism says basically that all things are one thing, and that is Brahman. That there only exists one thing, Brahman, and that is God. All of other things are an illusion, and what you work toward, and there's 5 basic paths that you work your way through toward. One's they're called yogas: bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, raja yoga, hatha yoga, and another one slips my mind right now. But these are paths that you follow. Bhakti is the way of love, jnana is the way of knowledge, raja is the way of meditation, hatha is the way of bodily postures, and karma yoga. Karma is just doing good, according to what is called dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A, which is the way things ought to be. So if you arrange your life in doing good and the way things ought to be, you're going to move up the ladder. Now, for Hinduism and Buddhism, existence is cyclical. It's you birth, death, decay, birth, death, decay, birth, death, decay. You would know it more or less probably as reincarnation, although it's not exactly that. But the you that is you, the jiva that is you, the Atman that is you, doesn't die. It merely transitions to another existence. Now, it can transition to another human existence, it can transition to a higher level existence, or it can transition to a lower level existence. It could be a rat or a bug or whatever, depending on what kind of karma you built up in the previous life, in the previous lives. And you come back as something that will teach you to do better. For instance, if you needed to learn humility in life, you never learned humility, you were proud and boisterous, and you didn't braggart, you didn't learn it, then you would be, your next life, you would come back as a creature that that had to be humble, a rabbit, for instance, that's very weak, doesn't have any defense mechanisms. It just has to hump up and take whatever comes and learn to be humble. So it's a progressive thing, with each successive existence leading you hopefully toward the goal, and the goal is moksha, or liberation, which means that you come to a place of enlightenment, and once things become clear and you realize that you are the Atman that is you, is Brahma. So basically, at the heart of who you are, you're God. That's I've simplified that greatly. Trust me, I have. That's all I can do. Anyway, this Buddhism comes out of Hinduism, and the Buddha, and much of Buddhism follows the route of Hinduism. The Buddha Buddhism is based on 4 basic ideas, and that is that all life is suffering, and the cause of suffering is greed, wanting things that you don't have, wanting things that are illusion, and the way out of that will lead you to nirvana, and the way out of that is a thing called the Eightfold Path. So the 4 noble truths, dukkha, all the world is suffering, on down, that I've just named, then how do you get out of that? How do you get out of a continual suffering, life after life after life after life? Continual suffering. How do you get, and life is that, Buddha said. Well, you don't belong there, first off, because there is no you, and you need to realize that. You need to come to that understanding. You need to come to enlightenment, awakening. That's basically what Buddha is the awakened one, the enlightened one. And you do that through the Eightfold Path. And I'm not going to go through all the Eightfold Path. Maybe Soccio might in his textbook. It's been so long since I've read that textbook, I don't know what he really talks about. But I hope he does. I hope he talks about the Eightfold Path. If he doesn't, you can look it up on computer, on the internet, Eightfold Path, and it will tell you. It'll be, right-mindedness, right speech, right thought, right work, all the way down, right meditation, all the way down. And each one of those you have to, it's sort of like the 12-step process in alcohol, in AA. It's a 12-step process toward basically freedom. So this is an 8-step process toward freedom. That's even after doing this, I've not done a great job, and there's just such a large subject that I probably shouldn't have made a video on it anyway, because there's just too much to even try to talk about. But basically, I wanted you to know that when we're talking about Eastern philosophy, we're talking about a totally different way of looking at the world, totally different way of looking at reality, totally different way of looking at life, totally different way of looking at everything. So Greek philosophy, Western philosophy, you're going to learn a lot about that. You already have, and you will have in the future, the rest of the semester, learn a lot about Greek philosophy and that worldview. But this is your only introduction to Eastern philosophy. And And so that's just a word about it. You can email me if you have a question, a particular question, or if you have anything else you want to say. I invite you to email me. You know by now that I get back to you within an hour or two, or certainly the same day on email. So I'll be glad to field your emails if you want to send them, and if not, then I guess I'll be glad not to get them. So okay, have a good day.